actually be approved and updated, that we still need to do minutes as was.
Good morning. Radcliffe, if you'd like to share your screen now, and just to bring up the presentation, feel free to do so.
I'll do that. All right, good morning, everybody. Are you able to see the presentation on your screen?
Yes, thank you.
Great, okay. If you are all ready, I will be happy to jump into this quick briefing on the Seattle Transportation Plan. Yes. All right. Again, I'm Radcliffe Dakanai from Policy and Planning Group at SDOT. I'm one of the principal planners working on the Seattle Transportation Plan. So I'm here just to give you another update on where we're at, how we've taken all of the input from phase 2 and just sort of what we're hearing and sort of some relevant element updates that would be of interest to all of you in the School Traffic Safety Committee. Just Seattle Transportation Plan. This is our vision for the future of Seattle, and we're focusing on making our transportation system a system that provides everyone with access to safe, efficient, and affordable options to reach the places and opportunities that they need to get to every single day. And what we're doing here is making sure that we're taking into account everyone's feedback or folks who've been participating in this process to help us collectively reimagine our transportation system. It's one that we're trying to focus people first, or making sure that the people component of moving people and goods is thought through, making sure that we're able to connect to all the places that we that matter to all of us, and then also remain grounded in our values. And we'll speak to those in a moment. And then again, meet this moment with different forms of engagement and making sure that we're able to connect with communities where they're at, and typically going to them instead of folks necessarily coming to us. And why are we doing this now? Frankly, there are urgent and emerging challenges around climate. We've gone through the COVID pandemic and having to get through that, and being able to understand how we manage our transportation system with extreme weather in the future, our changing habits around purchasing and more deliveries to our homes. So lots of different things that are changing the way we need to respond in how we use our transportation system. And of course, how we pay for all of this investment. The levy to move Seattle is expiring, and we're working on a new funding opportunity that's inspired by this plan and informed by this plan. And at the same time, there's the comprehensive plan, the One Seattle comprehensive plan that's being updated at the same time. And this is to manage our growth strategy and to make sure that the land use effort is aligned with the transportation effort that we're doing, and vice versa. And ultimately, this last piece here, to plan for limited space in a right of way. We are not going to be building any more roads, really. And so as our city grows, how do we use our right of way space better, more efficiently, and then also to make it safer for people biking, walking, and using transit, and then also being able to safely move our goods as well, safely and efficiently. So where we're at right now is phase 3. We've just finished phase 2 and are in the process of having our drafts being reviewed internally by subject matter experts, leadership, the mayor's office, all the different layers of review that need to happen. And then we'd love to get your input in this process period as well. We'll be sharing with you plan and the contents. But just real quick, what we've heard in the phase 2 outreach, we've done a lot of meetings, we've done a lot of events, as you can see here, and just the engagement snapshot. You know, there's lots of different data points that we've received and lots of different community events. So trying to reach the Seattle community in many different ways and engage them in many different ways and hear their input also in many different ways. One of the key things that we're hearing that this vision statement, Seattle is an equitable, vibrant, diverse city in which moving around is simple, just, eco-friendly, safe, and allows all people and businesses to access their daily needs and feel connected to their community. Overwhelmingly, what we've heard, 85% of about 700 responses that we plan. And then also what we've heard is, you know, the community wants to see rapid progress, so transformational change in our transportation system. And really what this saying is essentially make our system much more multimodal, shift away from what was currently staying the course with being a much more status quo of auto-dependent mobility. But in the future, we'd like to transition much more, continue to transition or accelerate that transition to a much more multimodal system. And it's reflected here as well in the top menu of actions that people commented on. Make more space for pedestrians. Make it easier and safer to bike around Seattle. Increase the number of people-friendly streets. Improve transit service and access. Reallocate street space. So all of these things really are pointing to, let's make it easier to make our short trips, especially by walking, biking, and transit, especially when more than half of our trips that are 3 miles or less, or I'll say that again, when most of our trips or half of our trips are 3 miles or less, and we could do those if we made it easier to walk, bike, and take transit. Many more people could shift their modes easily from automobile. So some ped-related updates in the plan. Just highlight a few here. So improvements along the streets are really speaking to locations that don't have facilities, perhaps requiring a new sidewalk or walkway or some safe walking environment. And ensuring that the space for people walking is safe. And then for crossing the streets, identifying places where we can make crossing the streets a lot more safe. So combination of using signals or always stops, the rapid flashing beacons, and then so marked crosswalks. So a whole slew of interventions to make it safer for getting across the street. And then what we're calling transit access streets. So streets with busy transit routes, making sure that it's safer, making access to those stops safer and more comfortable. And again, another way to make transit more inviting, but also making it inviting by making sure getting to the stop is safe and comfortable. That includes safer sidewalks, safer crossings, and better sidewalks. And then some other policies of note related to school streets and again, related to school traffic. So in December, there was an executive order that included expansion of school streets. So we'll be including that language as well, or language to enhance our school streets program will be in STP. Then a potential similar to Safe Routes to School would be Safe Routes to Transit program that we're proposing. And then to continue conversations with community organizations, lawmakers to remove these punitive pedestrian crossing laws, for example, jaywalking, that result in harm to BIPOC, primarily BIPOC communities. And then thinking about policy to create a level of service policy for pedestrians and not just measuring car movement, but also trying to understand, better understand what it means for movement, the quality of movement for pedestrians. And then, as you may have heard, as part of our Vision Zero top to bottom process, really paying special attention to a safe systems approach to designing safer streets, which would
Oh, so sorry, Radcliffe, but you.
So next steps will be released.
Oh. Sorry, Radcliffe.
Am I back there?
You were you cut out for a minute.
Oh, okay. So on the last slide here, to be focusing on our safe systems approach. So this is part of our Vision Zero top to bottom. So we're including it in the STP as well, and it would include potentially opportunities for redesigning some of our streets to reallocating general purpose lanes or so forth. So a whole slew of interventions to make some of our less safe streets or our unsafest streets that much more safe. All right, next steps, we'll be releasing the draft plan on June 30th. You can include, you can expect to see in the main plan document 4 chapters highlighting the vision, what we've heard from the community, the key moves, and then sort of this action plan here. And then we'll have element chapters that complement the plan document that focuses on all the different modes that we've had in the past, the modal, but beyond just the ped, bike, and transit and freight. So we'll have people streets and public spaces, a new emphasis also on emerging mobility and curbside management, and also a vehicular element to go along with there's an opportunity to continue to engage with the STP by commenting on the draft through our website, in-person events, by phone or mail. And then this last bullet here is for all of you, excuse me, I need to cough a second. Excuse me. If all of you are interested to write a collective letter to the STP team, there's also an opportunity to provide feedback that way. And we're saying this now because I know there may not be, between now and when we ask for that letter or your collective comments, you may only have 1 or 2 more meetings to do that. So just being mindful of that opportunity. And of course, here again is a way to reach the STP team through these different means. And yes, and then also as we coordinate and collaborate with our partners at the Office of Planning and Community Development, opportunity to give your feedback, the comp plan process, and let them know what you think about our growth strategy as well. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you so much. And let me pause there and join you back on the screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Radcliffe.
All right, happy to take any questions that you may have. Just have a conversation with the remaining time that I have.
Radcliffe, you said, the letter with the specific feedback, that would be like around June sometime, right? When that next set of documents comes out. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, so it'll be probably at the end of June that we'll be able to release the plan publicly. And then I believe we're providing 4 or 6 weeks for review. That'll be all part of this next round of engagement. And then you'll have an opportunity to give collective feedback. But then you're also welcome to give individual feedback to us.
The comment period is going to be about July-ish.
Yes, July-ish.
This is still all draft. I'm curious. The slide says that one of the changes is to focus on the safe systems approach, right? Which is, of course, we're very much in support of this. I'm just curious, because Seattle has had a complete streets ordinance in effect for a while that has not resulted in all of the projects, being complete streets. So as you're looking at so it seems like it's more of an internal process issue than a goal or resolution or ordinance issue that is preventing some of this more preventing universal application of a multimodal street design, right? So how is SDOT looking at making this change so that it really happens this time?
Thanks, Mary Ellen, for that question. I will just say, I've been in this business now 20 some years, and in seeing how different DOTs operate in different parts of the country, and it's an ongoing sort of shift of how the DOT operates in context of how the whole city, a new administration, etc. So I think it's a combination of internal priorities and shifting, but we've got a good team in the Vision Zero team being led by Alison Schwartz, and there is, I would say, a lot of staff who are interested in pushing the envelope and making our streets safer. And if that means in some places having some technology to help with that, and then in some places it might mean rethinking how the street is redesigned. But that's all going to also take additional community engagement, especially in those areas where a lot of change to the right of way could happen. So right now we've got we've lowered the speeds. How do we make sure that the behavior change is happening? Do we apply cameras for automated enforcement in some cases where it's appropriate. In some places, the community is saying, oh, we don't want that. We prefer some rapid flashing beacons to help make the crossings safer, or perhaps we reduce the size of the lanes, or I shouldn't say reduce the size of the lanes, but reduce the number of general purpose lanes. So I don't think there's a complete program yet for all of the streets, but we're looking at all of the streets where we're seeing that it's unsafe, and making sure that we're putting in the right intervention given the community context and the community conversation and feedback in those locations.
Well, thank you for that. I guess just to clear, what I'm really interested in is a question about SDOT's processes for prioritization, for decision making, because I really appreciate the work that you do, and that a great many people at SDOT do to always have this discussion about how we can make the streets safer and more complete. But that doesn't, if we're leaving it to staff members, then we see numerous examples of repavement projects that do involve moving the curbs and things, but that are not considered complete rechannelizations. And as a result, they don't go through these processes that ask, should we put in bike lanes? So we have a lot of money being spent on not complete streets just kind of because of these long-standing processes. And I'm wondering if we don't address that, then this is, to a certain extent, just more of the same. So whether that decision, whether that reorganization question is really being looked at in SDOT. Community outreach is great, but this is all community outreach, right? And you've got a lot of feedback already saying what we want is to push further. So I don't think more community outreach is the answer here. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it goes both ways. There are certainly things that we can admittedly speed up on, and making sort of bike lanes in certain places happen. But it's interesting when we go out into the community, there's sometimes pushback on things that we're thinking, oh, we should put a bike lane here, where some other members of the community said a bike lane should come in here. And then there's pushback on that, and then the political process comes in and says, put a hold on it, and we have to rejigger the process to make sure that we can do this as quickly as possible.
Margaret, you had your hands on?
Yeah, I guess I'm piggybacking a little on Mary Ellen in that I feel like I'm a little confused why, if complete streets are the ordinance and complete streets are the plan, why it takes an argument amongst neighbors who have different visions, because some people, are very auto-oriented and some people aren't. I mean, that just for each segment of each block, like I feel like that kind of goes against the point. And particularly, like, we're looking at safe routes to schools. Like, we have had instances where certain neighbors don't want a safe route to the school. They also don't want the school buses. They don't want anything.
They don't want kids.
And the point, in my understanding of having it programmatically, could be that you skip that argument and you say the safe route is going to happen. Let's help you process your emotions. I don't know.
And I think that's what our ongoing engagement is. Always the same people are moving out, and sometimes there are stronger voices that are able to bend the right ears politically. And I think with our plans, we have at least some backing to say, hey, this is what our intention has been for a long time. And then maybe we tweak it and we adjust it, and we bring together some other elements in the future. And right now we're thinking of these ideas of what we're calling now low pollution neighborhoods. And how do we bring together some programs like school streets, healthy streets, home zones, maybe have those programs work together and perhaps be able to say, okay, here are some neighborhoods that have agreed to participate in the program and to see how we can deprioritize the automobile on those residential streets as it relates to a school or to some other civic place or to a grocery store or Main Street area, to be able to increase again the opportunity for people to walk, bike, take transit safely, especially for the short trips. And this is going to take a lot of conversation, because I know all of you are probably leaning one way to especially from accessing school, making sure access to school is very safe. But I will say, I go out to meetings and times there are another group of folks who are like, I don't care about that. I care about XYZ. And really, it's sometimes mind-boggling to me that they're saying one thing, but they're also, that they support bus lanes and all of these things and climate and equity. But yet, I need my roadway to be fast, and I don't want to be stuck in traffic. And part of this conversation is going to have to be, hey, we are a growing city. We don't have enough right of way to move everybody in their personal vehicles. How do we have that ongoing conversation? Because it has been forever. The American way is to move ourselves by an automobile. And when you go up against that, a lot of community members begin to come out and say, hey, wait, even if they support all these wonderful things, and it's I would say it's an urban therapy session frequently to be able to go through that and say, hey, this is why we want to transition to this other way. Go ahead,
Sure.
Mary Ellen.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's, any movement inside ESTA to just, just to tell those neighbors, I'm sorry, but we are engineers who must design safe streets. We cannot prioritize your ease of access over kids getting to school safely. That's not good practice, and we are not allowed to do it. Is there any growing movement to just tell those people, tough noogies, kids get to walk to school?
If it were me, that would be the way, but it is
Okay.
not my decision to make. But those are the conversations that we try to share and show, and what that transition can be. That could be it's more beneficial to move in that direction for everybody, because safe streets for kids are also safe streets for people driving. And it's sort of, how do we collectively make that happen and still be able to enforce it in a way where, I would say it's the few bad apples that really stick out, right? When you put 20 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour on a street, and there are folks who just say, no way, this street is meant for, cars are meant to go 35 or more. And so there's a behavior shift that we're still trying to work on. And how do we sort of get that next group of folks who don't behave in that way? And what are the combinations of interventions? So it's not just lowering the speed limit. It's also putting in the enforcement pieces, the subtle designs of the infrastructure to let people know that you are now in a space where you need to be driving your car just that much slower to ensure the safety of all the other people who are using this space.
Margaret, you had your hand up, but I just wanted to clarify, you said in a comment that we should have people for that side. Could you clarify who would you like to invite to committee meeting?
Oh, yeah. Lee had said it's going to take change to Seattle's land use policies. And so I was thinking maybe we'll have a rep from the land use policy side. So it's sort of not for Radcliffe. Sorry.
I thought you were talking about, you know, SDOT's ongoing, like, neighborhood by neighborhood outreach efforts as these things get involved to talk
Ugh.
more about
I mean,
that
unless it's going to
process.
be discussion of, you know, good therapy methods, I honestly just don't. I mean, so not to be a jerk, because like I will just bring up in my work, there's an excellent program for tribal communities who have accumulated a lot of junk cars. It turns out that you can't just be like, what are these junk cars? Let's move them. People have an emotional attachment to their junk cars. And so you if you actually want to do it in a way that is respectful to your neighbors and communities, you actually have to have someone process the car collector's emotions along with getting them to sign off on the title. So, I mean, I don't know. It isn't. I'm an engineer. I totally get that sounds ridiculous, but you know, I feel like for whatever reason, we're humans. We're social animals, and those things are legit. But that isn't.
I agree. I just don't understand why there's this reluctance. I know that historically, unsafe streets have been considered legitimate engineering outcomes, but I think at a certain point we just have to take, you know, kids getting run over off the table of acceptable designs. Like, I don't understand why that is something that's, even if people don't want that to happen, you know?
Like just this week, someone crashed into someone in a car user crashed into a pole on Rainier, which happens every day. And this time it, you know, took out his light pole, and so it took out power for 400 homes for who knows how many hours. I mean, do we overlay those crashes, like, you know, like also on Rainier, you know, the family of 4 who got hit? Like when we present designs, do we, like, you know, you think this is currently safe, but here are some dots indicating not working.
Yeah. Well, I'll have Lee ask this question, then maybe we'll, since it's past 9 o'clock, we'll let Radcliffe go, since we're not going to rewrite community engagement policies and protocols here now. As much as I would like to have that power.
We appreciate Radcliffe very much, and part of our job is just to push, just to press you a little, so that you can go back and
I'm happy to come back,
right?
Have a deeper conversation with all of you. We could even make it informal and outside of this meeting, so we can have more time together. I know 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes isn't always enough time. And like I said, a lot of times this is an urban therapy session for all of us to be able to say this. And I'm just, no, I used to joke that it is urban therapy, but it is listening to different contexts. And like Margaret was alluding to, some folks have different ways of seeing the world. And we're also engaging with folks who live outside of Seattle. They've been displaced out of Seattle and have to come into Seattle. So there's trying to address that in the context of, like, well, we are Seattle and we manage Seattle city streets, and this is the way we want it. So I'll just leave it there. I'm happy to come back and have a separate conversation with all of you on this, or we can set up a separate time to have a longer conversation.
Yeah, just a minute before you go, Lee, do you have one last question?
You're on mute.
Yeah, you're muted, Lee. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Here you go.
Yeah. A lot of it, it's a horrible political and more than political, it's just a whole societal issue. And so it's going to be a long time to resolve, and it's going to be very, very much contested. Anyway, but in the meantime, there are things that SDOT can do. SDOT isn't, all of the people in SDOT
Thank you for that, Lee. All right, I will pass it back to you, Diane. Like I said, I'm happy to, again, come back and have these conversations with you, and then also share with you some of the work leading up to, I think, at least what we're seeing in the shorter term to seeing safer streets, especially around schools.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And for all of you that joined just past 8:30 sharp, this meeting is being recorded for public record.
Thank you, Radcliffe. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to see all of you. Have a great rest of your day, and have a great meeting, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Do we have anybody here for public comments? Okay, then we could start looking at last month's minutes.
Oops. Start up here.
Okay, Dan, the first action item, exciting update.
Yeah, we have a date for the walking tour at Concord and John Stanford. So I did want to talk to you briefly about the order of operations here. We only have 2 hours. So if anybody has any thoughts, I have to sort of write up the plan of action. So if you have a preference for Concord first, John Stanford first, how we should do this, speak now, please.
Well, I guess it would be helpful to know how long do you expect the drive to be if we need to drive between Concord and John Stanford?
Yeah, I mean, just with people moving, we should give at least half an hour, even though it's probably not going to take that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that leaves 45 minutes for each tour. I'm happy to just create a draft and then people can respond to it. That might be easier.
I think it's going to be a real temptation to overstay at the first school, but that
Right.
we'll just have to cut it off no matter what.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll just put together a draft and then people can respond. If that works.
What is the date again?
Oh, the date. What is that? It's May 20.
I want to say 22nd.
22nd. It's Monday. Do you mind? Let's see.
Yeah.
May
Monday
22nd at
from 10 to
10.
noon.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so Dan, I think if you could put together like a draft plan and let us know who's going to be there from outside the
Yes.
committee, that'd be super helpful.
Yeah. Oh, and I should say that this is because we're going to hit quorum with the number of attendees. This is going to be a public meeting, so everybody's invited. So that's another thing about. We're going to have folks from Reconnect South Park with us as well for the Concord Elementary tour. But I think it might make a little bit more sense to start at Concord. But if anyone has thoughts on that, obviously get back to me. But I'll just put out a draft with attendees and then send it out to the group. All right, that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that if we have an outside group coming as a group, maybe we should put them at the end, just because of, as Mary Ellen said, that tendency to like try to over engage over the time, right? So
That's
just
a
to
good
make sure.
point. So then maybe people could linger there.
Yeah,
If that one was
that's a good point.
second. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay.
Lee, you had a comment?
Yeah, this is a good example, actually, of what we were just talking about with Delaney, about how we change people's way of looking at the city. How it seems to me that everyone's going to be tending to bring their own car and all massively get from one place to the other. And it seems to me that we're working counterproductively to what needs to be done. And it seems to me that we need to figure out ways of being able to get people moved rather than everyone bringing their own car.
I think it's a great point, and once we have an understanding of who's going to be there and for how long, we could try to coordinate something. I think it's a very good point. Sarah, do you know if anybody from school leadership is planning on attending?
I let each school know about it, and Diane, I don't know if you got any responses to your invite from them.
Yeah, one so far, but yeah.
Okay, was that the John Stanford principal?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, great. I think as it gets closer, we can check back in with Concord to see if they want to join.
Have we also made sure that this is on the radar of, school board members, particularly the ones, so right now I think it would be Lisa Rivera-Smith and Leslie Harris, I think, is particularly the ones who represent these districts. I don't know if you've reached out to the school board at all, Sarah.
No, I've never had direct contact with the school board. I don't know who would be the right person for that.
Okay, I can do that, just make sure that they know that it's happening and it's public so everyone can come, right? Yeah.
Marty?
And Stephen asked me to let you know that he will be attending rather than Paula. So to schedule with Steve Richard rather than Paula Mori.
Mary Ellen, do you want to also reach out to Brandon Hersey? South Park is split.
Oh yeah, will do. Do you have, I've never talked to Brandon. I've emailed him a couple of times without response. I don't know if you've ever interacted with him, but it might be better for someone who's
Sure. I have,
on his radar to do it.
yeah, I have interacted with him. I don't usually get a response, but I'm happy to try again.
Yeah.
Who is that again? Brandon who?
Hersey, he's,
Hersey.
yeah, we have two school board representatives in South Park.
Marnie, just to clarify, for this one, we actually didn't have Paula on here. I think, Steve, you'd be welcome to come, and it would probably be optional.
I guess I was just looking at Action 8. Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah,
He had to step out and he just asked me to share that. So.
Okay, great.
So are you in touch maybe with their PTAs if we want to have parent involvement, or we?
Robin, yeah, go ahead, Robin.
I'm on the Concord PTA and also on Reconnect South Park, so we will represent there.
And I think Nalini Marzaria is already looped in and she's connecting with the John Stanford PTA folks.
Okay.
Did you just double checking that she is looped in? I just don't see her on the invite.
Oh, is she not? I will double check that.
Who is this? Would you say that?
I may have left her off accidentally.
Okay. from Nalini Muzaria Luna, who came several months ago to talk about these issues of the school being located near freeway on-ramps at John Stanford. So we'll definitely need to make sure she's looped in.
Mhm.
What is this name again? I can't hear you clearly.
Hem Morzaria Luna.
I'll paste it in the chat.
Any more comments about the tour? Okay. Moving on to the Walk Boundary Committee meeting. I see Stephen left and came back. I don't know if you're back on, Stephen.
I had to tend to an emergency, but I'm back now.
Okay.
So
Do you want to talk about it?
Are we on action 8 right now?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had an in-house conversation here. I decided that I'd be taking over for Paula in that capacity. And we did that on earlier this week, right? So any questions about that, or?
Well, we need to schedule a second meeting, so that we can get our, we had meant to schedule 2 and I think only got 1 on the, so that's an action item. We got to get our heads together and find a time for a second where we can look at the results of those intersection scores.
Yeah, and on that note, I heard from Nat that scoring each intersection takes quite a bit of time, actually. It takes about 20 minutes for him to accurately sort of go through all the different details. And so the number of intersections, like I think he calculated it would take something like 8 hours. So we have him on a lot of other projects and other things as well. So that feels like maybe a little bit much. So if we can winnow that down, that would be helpful.
So maybe we need some feedback from Matt about how we can make the scoring go faster. I think we're going to need to be scoring quite a few intersections for each school if we're going to be getting comprehensive, look at it. So maybe you could go back to him and ask what's the workiest part, and we could see if there's a way we can tweak it and just make it faster.
Yeah.
If you'd like, I can speak to that.
Oh, hey, here, sorry.
It's because a lot of the pieces of information are all sort of disparate places. So to score one intersection, I have roughly 10 tabs open. And then, of course, we've added more criteria, so that means that you kind of have to go back and forth. Some things, maybe this is going to be more of an issue in places like John Stanford, where the topography changes, but we also have slope measurements and calculations and visibility distances, which kind of require me to step through Google Street View or look at Google Earth to calculate slopes. So it just takes quite a bit of time. Now, like, given that maybe a lot of things are on 45th, right, I'll have the same tab open for like speed data and stuff. So I don't have to like keep re-looking up similar information, because we do at least keep some stuff together here at SDOT, but just the sheer breadth of the things that require scoring, it takes a significant amount of time. I don't know if there's a way to make it faster, but obviously, even if it's selfish, I do want to figure out a way to make it. So.
Yeah, would you mind taking a look at that and maybe making a suggestion about how we can get the most relevant info and cut the time on it so that it's effective?
Sure. And
Can I just ask, at the moment though, are we testing the rubric or are we doing all the things? I mean, it'd be awesome if we could do both at the same time, but I'm a little unclear on what we're doing.
My understanding is we're using these 3 schools as a test case in order to test the rubric, but that we will probably come out with results as well that apply to the walk boundary. I don't know if everybody else agrees.
And are we using the 3 schools as test case to compare between? Or can we prioritize one school, meet after the one school, and see what comes out of our meeting based on that one test case?
I think the goal is to have a variety of conditions to look at. we're gonna, if we're gonna get this done, we're gonna need to be able to do 2 or 3 schools per meeting. It took like 2 years to get through them all last time. And at the end, we were scheduling bi-monthly meetings and we were moving through 3 or 4 schools a meeting. And so we do need to be able to get a lot of intersections scored to be able to really look at this. And so, yeah, we're going to need to be able to move through multiple schools at a time.
Matt, everything else, like being equal, and if we change nothing, when do you realistically think that we could have the data for us to schedule another meeting?
For the subsequent schools or whatever that we just, or the next set of 3 schools that we kind of talked about?
The 3 schools that you currently have, that Dan just sent you.
I mean, it's, so like Diane said, it's like roughly 20 to 30 minutes at
Mhm.
28 different intersections. So it's going to take me as an intern a minimum 2 weeks of like dedicated effort, just because I don't have any hours, and I'm also like a second year, which means I'm working on my thesis. So my time is pretty limited. And I know I'm on a bunch of other projects for SRTS at the moment as well. So I don't necessarily want to commit to something. But I would say at minimum bi-weekly, getting those done.
Yeah, and I totally get that it's not the only thing that you're doing currently.
Yeah. Also, we appreciate your work on this very much.
Yes.
Want to put that in there.
No, I don't think that's not the case. And by the way, because I am like a graduate, FYI, it's going to be a little bit slower for like a second person to kind of come in and start picking this stuff up, which could happen anytime in the next like 3 to 4 months. So I'm going to do what I can as well to kind of do some work on our side, make sure that like spreadsheets are easy to enter information in and pop answers out, and like have links to where a person would need to go, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully a transition would be smooth, but I would also expect the pace to slow down a little bit when a new intern shows up.
We really appreciate it because, part of the goal is to refine our rubric here. We want it to be workable. So whatever you can suggest, that would streamline it, whether it's just a process thing, in terms of like lining them all up on one street, or whether it's something else, if there's one particularly worky thing, or anything that you can help us figure out that will make it manageable, we would really appreciate.
Any other comments about the lock boundary meeting? Okay, let's move to item 9 and the list of schools that are in the right place in the process for us to help support. Stephen, do you know what we're looking at here?
There's a lot of movement next year compared to most years when it comes to capital projects and students moving from one school to another. And I could give you the list of that. But as an overview of how we handle that, and for anyone who doesn't know this, if we move a student population from one building to another for a capital project, we just eliminate the walk zone gets transferred over as well. So you have the same draw zone, right? The students are coming from the same area, but the building moves, we incorporate that walk zone, so the walk zone for the school doesn't move any. My point is that there's not really much work to be done about that. We fill in that the old walk zone most likely is now a bus zone, right?
Mary Ellen?
I think we're asking about capital projects, though, coordinating site circulation reviews when the project's at about 30%, so that we can make sure we're giving input when it is useful. We're on item 9, right?
Yeah, so are you asking for which programs those are?
Yeah, we're just wanting to make sure that we stay on the radar of the project managers at Capital Projects as these come up every year, so that we don't, so it doesn't get pushed too late. That's something that Richard Stout used to do on kind of an ongoing basis, just to find out.
Okay,
You can just look at the Bex list and find out where they are and just give the project manager a heads up reminder. When would you like to schedule your review with the school traffic safety committee?
okay. Well, I certainly don't have the bandwidth to take over Richard Stout's responsibilities, but I can let you know what the projects are.
Okay, and yeah, so we're just looking to coordinate which ones they are, and then also who to talk to at Capital Projects about each one, you know? Yeah,
Just to make sure
connection.
that
Mary Ellen,
Yeah,
I just pasted a link into the chat, which shows the triangles on that map show a new replacement. And it looks to me like all of these, actually you all would know better, but I think all of these buildings have already gone through your review.
so does that mean that that's it for this Bex levy, but isn't there another levy coming online? I mean, this is a continuous process, right?
Okay, I don't know if the next levy buildings are determined. This Bex levy goes through 2025.
I guess the question is,
Marnie had her kind of.
sorry.
Yeah, Marnie, thanks.
Yeah, hi, thanks. So I meet weekly with the capital team, so I can let them know that kind of to maintain this. If Richard Stout was the link, I think I just need to reestablish that. Probably with Becky Asensio, there's a good team there. So I will make sure that I get this on their radar, that they're aware that they need to build this in as they're going through. They're quite methodical. So there are a couple of people, Michelle Hanshaw and Ting-Yu Wang and Becky Asensio, that we can make sure that they are aware of this and have this on the work list.
Thank you, Marnie.
Thank you, Marnie. Yeah, and they are, you're right, they're methodical and they're great, and this is an established process, so I think it's just more a question of making sure there's that link. Yeah.
Now that Richard is retiring. Margaret?
That was my question too. If I just waited and not interrupted, Marnie would have told me the answer.
Okay, any other questions or comments about that? Okay. Moving forward, I believe it was the last action item.
Yep.
Nope. Anybody wants to
I had a couple of items from last month, just to let you know that I've the speed zone camera stats we talked about, and Gary just sent me more detailed stats than are published on the website this morning, so I can have a little more info on that for next month's meeting. Yeah, and then I had another ongoing item, which is that we were having this discussion of whether we wanted to, formally vote to about the right on red question and send a letter to our, state and city representatives about that. That was when we had started to discuss, but hadn't
yes,
decided.
well, it's coming up in the agenda.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we have a whole thing discussing it. Anybody want to call to approve the minutes?
Anyone want to what the minutes?
We need to approve the minutes.
Oh, I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Any second?
Second.
Anybody who's in favor? Say, I don't know. Okay. Melanie, do you want people to raise hands or? We'll take silent as assuming that everybody's saying. Okay, anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Minutes have been approved. Okay, next on the agenda, we were supposed to have an update from the capital projects, but that meeting has been rescheduled, so we'll jump just along to the Right on Red letter. We had a discussion last month about whether or not we want to write a letter as a committee, urging to, I guess, cancel the right turn on red. But we had to stop it. Yes, Lee.
Can we write a letter as a committee? In the past, I thought that we could write a letter as community representatives, etc., but that as staff members of STPS and Seattle, that there was some question of whether we could write a letter.
Mm-hmm.
The way we've done it before is we've done it, sort of from the volunteer members of.
Mm. So not as a committee, but just as those of us.
I mean, we do it on committee letterhead. We just have specified that it's from the volunteer members.
Mm-hmm.
It was the solution to this issue that we have worked out. We haven't been challenged on it. That doesn't mean we couldn't be challenged on it, but that's what we've done.
Another thing on the red letter, the experience I've had this week the right turn on red is that, the most dangerous intersections here actually are left turns. I was thinking they were right turns, but the ones in my neighborhood that are most dangerous to cross are not so much free left turns, but just left turns, that people just don't pay any attention to people in the crosswalk, which isn't going to help by free right turns.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I guess for me, the question is if we put our weight as committee volunteers on these issues, I'd love to know more about the opposition. Yes, it makes sense. No right turn on red would reduce the number of casualties and kids being hit. But so there's having everybody drive 10 miles an hour.
That's what I'm saying is I think people that make free right turns are careful. It's the people that think they're perfectly fine, like the left turns, that they're not careful. And just watching that this last month, so I've changed my view that I'm not so opposed to free right turns as I was, and I think it'll be really hard to enforce.
And I'm personally not in favor of banning right turn on red, so I'm definitely not going to write the letter. And I was a little surprised to see that I had seconded it in the last minutes, but I didn't want to argue about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to. I would abstain if the rest of the volunteer members wanted to do this, but I would not be doing it.
Yeah, I'm opposed to it too.
Mary Ellen, you're on mute.
It sounds like maybe we should not use our political capital, however much of that we have, on this issue then, since we don't seem to have an agreement.
Okay, then that's that. The next item is committee work. Happy to say that we do not have to talk about committee recruitment at this point. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding, but we do need to talk about retreat planning. It's not something we've done before. It's optional. And I think it could be a great opportunity for us to get to know each other better and get to know each other better and maybe talk about long-term goals and next year goals. Does anybody want to take it on?
I have a possible suggestion. Let me just check my calendar. And it's just a idea that occurs to me while we're talking about it. But I have reserved the Beacon Hill Jefferson Park lawn bowling facility for a Seattle Neighborhood Greenways summer solstice event on the 16th of June, which would also be our meeting day, I believe. So I could see about whether we could have a retreat in conjunction with that. It's an amazing facility there. But also there's probably somewhere else. I don't know.
When you say in conjunction with that, would there be a larger, would it be the whole Beacon Hill Safe Streets folks there? Or
that's an evening party, and you guys would all be welcome to stay for a potluck and bowling.
Yeah. Well,
and then I could get you guys to come to the potluck and bowling.
Margaret, do you want to plan the retreat?
Not solo.
You're suggesting that we could go before, is that it? Like we'd go in the afternoon and do some lawn bowling, and then the Beacon Hill folks, and the reservation covers this whole time?
It doesn't, and it would cost me a lot of money, but I could see about doing it.
How much will it cost to add us?
I would think I would have to ask, but I think it would functionally be like $100 an hour.
Do we have a budget for our retreat, Diane?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can check with Aline to see if we have any funds for that.
Yeah.
In the past, for other groups, for other modal boards, they just meet at breweries or, like a park or something like that. So there's been no need. But I can see.
Yeah, I would suggest another option might be, Carkeek Park has a lot of shelters around the play area, and on a Saturday morning they're usually all booked they're all used for birthday parties, but any other time you can usually just roll up and snag one if you want it. So something like that, we could bring some snacks and chat. Yeah, the public libraries rooms are free, but you have to book those things way in advance. I did it for a kid's birthday party once. It takes extreme planning.
I'd love to move on from the discussion, but I'd love to have somebody take on that discussion offline. Anybody wants to step up to plan the retreat?
Can we quickly just to say who, Lee, I know that you are maybe more comfortable meeting outside, is that correct? What kind of thing would everybody be able to attend? Like, is a Friday after our meeting a good choice? Do we want it to be at a brewery? Should it be outside? That might make it easier to plan if we just get some consensus on that.
I always like outside personally. I think that's if the weather's nice, because we're meeting in the summer. I think that sounds nice to
In
me.
June, that sounds like a really nice, for all of us outside. Bring a picnic lunch,
Yeah, so like an afternoon. Would a Friday afternoon work for folks? Margaret, Robin, could you make that work?
And I would love for it to be during the work day for the staff members on the committee.
Do you have any restrictions, Noah? You could make a Friday afternoon work?
Sure.
What about location? Do people have, north, south, central? Are there like limitations this way that would make it easier or hard to attend?
How about a park closer to town? For people that work downtown.
Yeah, how about Sarah, Stephen, Diane? What's going to make it possible for you guys to attend? Matt?
I can make it work anywhere in the city. There does seem to be availability at Seattle Public Libraries if we need a backup rain option.
January sometimes makes that a good plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yvonne, what would you often are out in the field, you know, is there any general day, time, or location that would make it easier for you to attend?
I work from home on Mondays and Fridays, and I'm off by usually 1:30. So yeah, that's my schedule.
Does that mean a Friday afternoon could work then?
I'm at home on Fridays.
Where's
I live in Sultan. I'm nowhere near
Sultan?
Seattle.
Okay,
Oh,
so you couldn't
so
come.
that does not work. What day of the week would work better for you, Yvonne?
Oh, probably maybe Wednesday.
How is Wednesday for other folks?
Oh, don't make it all on me, guys. If you guys want to meet. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm just one person here, so.
If you're asking me if I have any free time available, the answer is no.
Well, after this meeting, going to lunch somewhere close to City Hall. Is that an idea?
I
Or a
don't know.
park close to City Hall?
Is that something that would work for you, Lee, to go to lunch? I mean, maybe we can find an outdoor restaurant, or, you know, because I know you have hearing can be frustrating in a noisy restaurant as well, right? Okay. Well, I guess we'll take this discussion offline. I'll look for Wednesday afternoons because we would love for you to be able to attend if possible, Yvonne. And if we can't find one, then maybe right after the meeting or a Friday afternoon will be our second best bet. So I will take it. Noah, I'll try and set it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're way ahead of schedule. That's great. Sarah and Yvonne, your time.
Okay, I can go ahead. First, I wanted to share Percival news. So it's good news, but yeah, emotional. I am going to be taking Ashley Reed's position over at SDOT. Ashley is being promoted. She is taking her boss's position, Brian Dougherty. Well, Brian Dougherty takes a new deputy director position under Jim Curtin. And so I'm going to fill in for Ashley. It's a temporary position for 1 year, and then we'll see if something works out permanent after that. So the reason it's emotional is because, of course, I love my job right now and just very conflicted about leaving, but also very excited to be working directly at SDOT and on the infrastructure around schools. I have big shoes to fill. Ashley was in this role for 10 years and really took Safe Routes to School far with the support of you all. And so just excited to be a part of that. And it means that we'll need to be hiring someone new for my position. And so you could be thinking on that and who that could be. I know we'll get a good person because it's such a good job. And Diane and I will be working with that person very closely.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you. And also just a couple
When is it going to be listed and how?
You froze for the second question, but I heard the when will it be listed question, and we don't know yet, but we hope soon. My last day is May 9th, so I still have a couple more weeks, and we're going to do our best to get it listed quickly so that we can get someone in before the new school year starts. And then other updates.
Wait, Lee, did you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, last time, when, Sarah got hard, it took a long time to actually go through the paperwork of getting a person, from the city or from the schools involved. So it's something that we need to start working on now. In addition, it's getting more important that my term has ended, and it's getting more important for me to make sure that someone else can take my place.
So Lee, you said your term is ended on the committee. Could we? I didn't realize we have. Okay, so we'll talk about recruitment maybe after Sarah's update, Uniforms update.
Yeah.
Lee, are you willing to stay on until we find somebody to replace you?
Yes, but it's getting. I'm not sure that I can be that helpful. So yeah, I can stay on for a while, but I would like to find a replacement soon.
Okay. Sorry, Sarah, go on.
Okay. Couple updates. Things are really busy right now in a good way. Trying to share my screen. Go. Where we have Earth Day and Bike and Walk to School Month coming up. So this is an example of Earth Day event. Rocks Hill down in the Delridge, West Seattle area is doing an Earth Day event, and I'm working with the school nurse on 3 walking routes to school, where we're targeting where there's affordable housing to hopefully get a good group of kids all walking together to school. I'll be interested in how this route goes. It's over a mile. These kids do qualify for busing. We'll see if we get some of them to join us on a walk. So that's next Wednesday. That should be fun. Also, I've mentioned this before, but the bike bus to South Shore and Dunlap and Rainier Beach is really coming along. We've now had 122 signups. Part of that is because BikeWorks is very generously offering to give away free bikes. And so, I'm kind of trying to figure out if the signups are just for the free bikes or if people are intending to ride the bike bus as well. But both are good news, getting bikes in kids' hands. So we'll see. It's going to be every Wednesday morning in May. The first one is May 3rd. And so I'll be excited to see who joins.
Sarah, I don't think that you are involved, but I want to let you know that the PTA at Green Lake is organizing bike bus routes for May as well. They're going to be twice weekly, and there are 3 routes, with the idea being that they start, far out at the attendance zone and collect the whole way. So we're excited to participate in that.
I am not involved, which is wonderful. It's great that this stuff is just taking hold on its own. Okay, I will add Green Lake to this list. It's just kind of for my own knowledge, so I can know, or in the future person in this position can know year by year, like where are things happening so that we can keep it going each year. So I'm adding
In that
Greenway.
case, I could tell you that Adams Elementary is also doing something in May, not on back to school day, but like
Okay.
a couple weeks later on a Friday.
Great. Yeah, so the schools, at least that I'm tracking, we have 12. I know that there are more though, because when Diane opened up her request process for people to check a box and receive free giveaways and other types of supplies that support walking and biking events and walking and biking encouragement at schools, she got overwhelming response. many schools are requesting, and so I know that there's more than this, and which is great. There's a lot happening over the city. It's exciting. Those are my main updates. Yvonne, if you wanted to share any crossing guard updates.
Nothing really to update you with. I just, however, Salmon Bay, because of the student that was hit and run, I did send over flyers and stuff, and they put it up. So I do have 2 applicants that actually called in. I called them back, left a message. They haven't returned my call yet, but hopefully one of those will be able to get interviewed, and get online. That's Salmon Bay.
Yeah.
The one.
Margaret, I see you're confused face. It just happened, like just less than 2 weeks ago. A student, not from Salmon Bay, middle schooler from another school, was crossing in front of Salmon Bay on a Wednesday around 2:30 and was hit by a car that just sped along.
Yikes. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Was that on 65th? Do you know?
18th, 65th and 18th. I think he was, I believe he was crossing 18. And the passenger made eye contact with the kid, and the whole thing is pretty nasty. But there are plenty of grown-ups there to help him.
You okay? No, do you know if he was injured?
Just scraped knees. So nothing serious. Besides, quite a severe heart attack for everybody involved and his parents that were not on site. The police is involved, but of course they have nothing. They don't have a whole lot to go with. Sorry, go ahead, Yvonne.
Basically, I've got one guard staffed at Kimball. I haven't been able to get him in to get trained yet, but he is ready to go. I have another one that has been fingerprinted, and we're waiting to get him staffed, and hopefully he'll be going to Hawthorne. And then the one gal that was applying for Catherine Blaine, her fingerprints rejected, so we have to wait for the other set to come through and get cleared before we can get her in and get her staffed. So still in the holding pattern, but at least I haven't lost any more. That's a good thing. So that's it.
I had a question fresh from this morning. The crossing guard on Loyal Heights. Which intersection are they positioned? Are they on 24th and 80th, or are they on 26th?
25th.
25th, because I saw somebody today with the little flag things on 24th and 80th.
Well, they're both ends of the school. Yeah, they're the. I think he's on 25th. I have to look.
It was a female presenting person.
No, it wouldn't be. That's not him. I've got only one guard. He just works in the morning, and he's been off for a couple of days. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody today was helping people cross the intersection on 25th with our lights. Similar intersection.
I need some school staff because it's not mine.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I was just curious.
And can I just ask a quick question as well? Yvonne, we don't have somebody at Rainier and Walden, correct?
For what school?
John Muir?
Oh, we did not.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. God, you guys are asking me all these questions. I got to get the map in front of me. Yeah, there's one down on Rainier. Yeah. What do you mean? There's one he's there every day. Let me look at the exact,
And there's just one
post
person?
location. Yeah, there's always only been one. Let's see.
Okay.
What
I think-
are you talking about? John Muir. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah,
John
I
Muir.
can bring it up right here. Let's see. Share my screen.
The current crossing guard location map shows that one is filled.
Find it real quick.
So there was a question from the community about, because there was the accident there, somebody was hit, about adding an additional crossing guard for additional protection. They just wanted to bring that to the committee as a potential.
But there's
And we're
already
seeing
one
it-
guard
Oh,
there?
I've got one at,
That's the map.
for John Muir, there's one at McClellan. McClellan and 33rd and Rainier and Walden, yeah. Walden, yeah.
I'm
He's
sorry.
there. He's there every day. I don't,
Okay.
so what's the deal there?
A community member there was wondering if it made sense to have extra support there and have 2 crossing guards for that crossing.
Yeah, I, like I say, I'm lucky to have one there. So yeah, I mean, that's something we'd have to decide on, but usually the posts that I have to have 2 on, I'm lucky if I get 1. That's, yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible on some of those posts where you need 2, and if you have 1 adult guard, you could have 1 student guard?
Usually on those posts, they're too far from the school. It's not
Okay.
it's not a close to
Yeah.
the school.
You were talking about hiring high school guards at one point.
I was not.
Oh, we were, I guess. Okay, obviously that's not a good idea.
No, I don't think that's a good idea. Sorry. If it's right in front of the school and they'd be like the student patrol, that'd be different. But yeah. But again, that's
Okay,
not up to
thank
me.
you.
The committee votes on it. I guess that we could go for it, but yeah.
Noah, if we have a moment here, we're a little ahead of schedule. I got a message from Anna Zieverts with Disability Mobility Coalition, asking whether our committee could co-sponsor candidate debates focused on transportation with them and a bunch of other nonprofit transportation groups that she works with. She said they'd be careful about, like, it's, no endorsing, just supporting the debate venue. But I wanted to ask, is that something we're interested in? And also, Diane, whether or not that's something we would be allowed to do as a city commission.
Sponsoring, we're talking about just by name or financially?
Yeah, just by name, just, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some organization work. No finances involved.
Okay.
We don't have any money. But
Yeah.
lending our name to try and raise the profile of candidate debates focused on transportation issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds fine from my perspective, but I'll check in with Aline just to confirm.
Okay.
Yes, and I think
Is
we
that
also
something-
need to know who are the other sponsors.
Yeah, I can get a list.
Yeah, I assume that is going to be, could or could not be a sticky point.
Is that something folks are interested in? You're giving us a funny face, Margaret.
I think it's something would be good to know. I think more community action is always a good thing, and knowing who we're going to get for city commission before we get them and they do something crazy was also a good idea.
It makes me a little uncomfortable, but I could just sort of not be on the committee? I mean, or
What makes you uncomfortable?
I don't know, and maybe maybe if I thought through it with longer. I mean, this is just my gut reaction, so I don't know. Anything to do with electoral politics makes me a little uncomfortable for a city board because it sort of starts to, I feel like, kind of connect in ways that, but
Yeah.
it basically, like, I don't want our committee to be associated with any particular elected official in the way that then the person who comes in after would feel like punishing us. And I may be overthinking this. It's just something that has happened in my job where, you end up being sort of a target for other elected officials. But I'm probably way overthinking this, and this isn't that thing, and I'll just stop talking.
Well, so I guess I'll ask Anna for a list of who else is involved. And maybe we could sponsor, or maybe she'd let us just like submit a question or two, And then Diane, we can't, no point in talking about it too much until we have a confirmation on whether this is even, something a city commission can do at all. So if you would check on that, we could circle back next time.
We have space on the agenda. I would love an update on the school paddle ticket law enforcement situation.
And if the contract has been written or has been signed between SBS and the county?
It has?
No. Question mark. Like, do you mean?
Yes. Are we back in business? Not business, that's a bad way to put it. Are we back in agreement? Are we not? Should this be a subcommittee conversation, not in this thing, so subcommittee can take it? We could make a little bus paddle subcommittee or whatever.
No, I think that we have it well in hand. It's not up and running, but that's because we have to find a partner, either with the county or with the city, who is willing to basically create the forum for operationalizing the citations. And that means assigning attorneys and, when people contest the citations. The county, and Sarah and Stephen, please jump in. We just had a meeting yesterday with the city attorney's office, because the county, they were who we had the agreement with before. The King County executive, I think, office was who had signed the agreement before. They flatly said, we are not, it is a capacity issue. We do not have the capacity to cooperate, not cooperate, but to provide the sort of court time and the prosecutorial time to carry out these citations. The city seems to be more open, but they had other questions that we're following up on. And Sarah, you can, if you want to speak to that. So at this point, we can't do anything, but I think we're in a good place. We have a solid relationship, and I think we're working on that. And I think we want to we're in a negotiation phase right now that I think is, we've got this. And Fred Podesta and I and Sarah Calling and Steve Richard are and also Greg Narver, who's our general counsel, also are involved in the work. Sarah, Steve, do you want to add? Mm-hmm.
You have a solid relationship with the city police department on this topic?
It's the city attorney's office.
City attorney's office.
Because ultimately any citations have to flow through an office that can verify and assign fees and handle courtroom time if people want to contest any of the citations. Is how the process happens.
Yeah. The only thing I would clarify is that the King County Executive Office is supportive, It's the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office that
Thank you.
is unwilling to keep staffing this.
Thank
And so
you.
that's why we're pursuing the city to see if that could be an option. And then if that doesn't work out, then we'll look into other options.
So would it still be King County sheriffs doing the initial support, and then it would be the city attorney, or would it switch to SPD reviewing the citations?
It would all switch.
Please do let us know if it stalls, because, allocation of staff resources is not set in stone. It's a political issue. It's a choice. And so we would like to just raise public awareness if the decision is that we're not going to do it.
I'm
No,
also a little
understood. Mhm.
concerned because SPD has apparently seems to have capacity issues for other parts of the work that interface with this committee. For instance, the rep hasn't been here for a while, and I know that each person has a life and personal responsibility. I'm not trying to denigrate the person. And then we have a bunch of data that we're supposed to be getting from the district on the speed zone cameras. And so, having already ongoing capacity issues with department and to date little leverage in unsticking things like data flows, which could be not such a time sink if it was working well, makes me nervous.
Sure. Yeah, I thank you for that. I think one thing that we were able to confirm yesterday is that it's the same vendor who operates the speed zone cameras as the stop paddle cameras. So I think this actually has the potential to, again, I am just projecting, but to leverage that by unifying that. I mean, we have good data on the stop paddle camera citations and how, the presence of those stop paddle cameras reduced the number of infractions pretty significantly over the course of time. And anyhow, so I think that it could have the potential to just help us get some of that data a little bit more aligned, because they really are very similar concerns just about, safety, safe routes to schools. It connects both of them. So that's something we were able to confirm that could potentially make it a little more appealing to the city.
We have one more agenda item, and then a couple of unscheduled updates, one unscheduled update. So let's keep everything to after that. The flashing beacons coordination. When we talked about it last time, Moni said that at this point you'll know which schools will have summer school. So we'll be able to let SDOT know. So they'll schedule those flashing beacons.
Yeah, let me put that in the chat. Hang on just a second.
So then I assume that then the next step is for you to send it to whoever is scheduled, the list, and for them to just program.
Yeah, because it happens yearly. Mm-hmm. And it's not me who does it, but
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're not.
well,
that's
that's
part of it,
actually, though, I think, who
But
actually
when
did it. Yeah.
Great. Well, with that taken care of, Richard sent. Oh, great. Richard sent an email to.
I just want to, can we pause and just say how amazing that coordination is? This has been a sticking point for years, and we've never been able to get that get that lined up this early. So I just want to say thank you, Marnie. That's amazing. And just acknowledge this superb coordination.
Thank you. Sorry. And do I need to send this list to someone, or can I share? Is there somebody else who's going to be sending this? I apologize for.
Well, I believe Diane is going to be sending it. internally to SDOT. Is that right?
Yeah.
Marnie, I just put the webpage link in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I know, I'm like, here's, I'm working from home because my house, I have no kitchen right now, and I'm working without my full screen array. So thank you for
Great.
doing that. Yeah, so the list of schools is in the chat right there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so yeah, Diane will bring that to Ashley.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for that. We actually, it was a real concerted effort to create, we're calling it the Year-Long Excellence Squad, and the acronym is then YES with an exclamation point, just because we're really moving toward envisioning, it's just not a 180-day school year, it's a 200-day school year with the addition of summer learning, because summer learning is a critical part of our overall learning. So the same team that was working on operational coherence to launch the school year, I said, why don't we just expand that and really make summer learning not a standalone phenomenon, but really part of our overall work. And I think that's really helped. So we've been able to activate just it, when it lived by itself, it was harder for people to get action and movement. And I think making it part of this broader team has really helped to get things moving a little bit faster.
It's really impressive to see that change. Thank you, Marnie.
Earlier in the month, Richard emailed Diane and I about Olympic View School, where the principal asked about the potential of transitioning one of the streets into one-way street because of drop-off pickup issues. Dan, do you want to fill up on the email?
Yeah, there just are a number of schools who want to pursue this. Rocks Hill is one of them. They're no longer operating their school street. They want to just create a one-way street. So I'm just working with TOD, their transit or transportation operations division, the engineers there to figure out a solution for them. But it's not a high priority for me because it is not promoting walking and biking. It's basically just enhancing school circulation, which increases safety, obviously. So it's something that we're doing, but it's basically just to improve their parent drop-off with vehicles. So I'm pursuing it. And I'll provide you with an update if they're able to get their permit through.
Okay, well,
I have a question about crossing guard recruitment, if we have a little pause. In the past, that has been a, ever-going effort. Curious, and we had come up with the physical sign on the physical signpost by the physical intersection as a leading way of attracting people. And at times SDOT has had interns available to help with that, and at times SDOT has not. Anyway, so I'm curious. Does that need to get revitalized? Do we need to continue to try to think of other ways of doing it? How are we doing?
and I guess if I'm to dovetail on Margaret's question, do you know the people that apply to those positions, how they learned about those positions? Is that through
Usually word of mouth. It's usually word of mouth, and the best actually the best thing is, and when I send out to the schools and I'll say post up the flyer, put it in your newsletter, and that's usually how they do it. It's just people that walk in the school dropping their kids off, like the one at Salmon Bay. She says my student goes there. I saw the flyer inside the door, and that immediately got their attention. So that's really the best way, except like in the very beginning in like in August and stuff, when they do a news blast, we usually get a lot, then. And it probably will pick up a little bit because the weather's changing. However, we got this late spring thing that's going on. People don't like to be out and working in the snow and the rain. I mean, they just don't. So when the sun comes out, that's when they go, oh, I could do that job. So yeah, and that's the reality of it. So anyway.
So you're saying now's a good time to recruit?
Now's a good time to recoup. So, like I say, once I get through, I do 2 jobs here. So once I get through with this other thing next week, then I'll send out a blast to all the schools and say, go ahead and put these flyers up. We have an opening there. We need to get them covered. And they know it too. So anyway.
But one of your other large pools, as I understand it, is retirees who may not be walking children to school already.
Right. And,
So-
you know, we've got some that were put up in like senior centers and stuff like that. And yeah, that's probably the
Maybe
best
public
thing.
libraries. would be
What?
good.
Public libraries, that would be good too. If anybody even goes to libraries anymore, most everybody does everything online. So I mean, it's, you know.
I think the people that you're attracting might be the people who are currently going to libraries, or wanting to attract. So I guess, do you feel like I mean, you, as we all know, are stretched very thin. So do we feel like we have I mean, I don't know if Sarah, but then Sarah's going.
Sarah's going. But she's been out there. She has been helping. Yes. So I mean, you know.
You know what?
And there's
To crowdsource across the city, what if I were to bring a stack of these flyers that I just pasted into the chat to our next in-person meeting? And then if Yvonne, if you have your list of openings that you want to target, and maybe people could go to their local intersection, local library and post flyers.
That'd be great.
Okay, thanks. Do you mind putting that on the agenda, Noah, for the next meeting? I know it's June, but you know, it takes a little bit of time for people to get on board anyway. So hopefully we wouldn't lose people in the summer.
Yeah. May. Our next meeting is going to be in
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so we still have a month.
Is there a sort of SDOT crew who would be traveling around who could?
I wouldn't ask SDOT crews to do anything else that they're not already doing. They're just so spread thin.
We had Robbie, we had a Metro member 5 or 6 years ago that got those things on all the buses, crossing guard recruitment.
No, they never actually went up. I remember we were almost there. And they gave us a hugely discounted advertising rate, but it didn't end up, the funds did not get allocated, so it didn't work. Yeah.
Well, if I can always ask if that's something there's interest in pursuing. So see if we can get a discounted rate again, or targeted routes or something. I don't know, like near schools that have needs. Could explore it.
That sounds great.
The number 8.
Well, I guess it all depends then,
Yes.
marketing budget.
Exactly. So what happened was they gave us a very discounted rate, and then Seattle Department of Transportation was willing to pitch in half, but SPS did not allocate the remaining, few $100s, and so it wasn't a go. So I don't know if that's something that SPS would be willing to do now or not. At the time, they said it was because it was like there was a lot of staff turnover, and the decision was not right now because we're getting a new transportation manager soon, and we don't want to allocate funds in any way right before that happens. So I don't know. I know that
Do you remember
the funding situation there, you got funds laying around, right, Stephen?
all that slush
No,
fund?
but I have a tiny fund as part of my position, and so I can't commit because it would be someone else making that decision. But if this all comes together again, it seems like that could easily come out of this fund.
Mary Ellen, do you remember how much money we were talking about?
This was in like 2018. I'd have to go back and look at the minutes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
going to share one just Metro update, if that's good with folks, which is that Sarah has been super helpful of just kind of following up on, I think, an activity with 8th graders at Mercer Middle School, providing kind of details of how they get to school and specifically how they interact with the Metro routes getting to school, and that kind of brought into focus the that Mercer is going to be moving to the interim site while the site's rebuilt, and that's located more on the periphery of the enrollment boundary than the current site is, so might increase the need for students to be able to use the Metro routes to be able to get between school and home. And so kind of following up on that, I was able to speak with some of our schedulers and service planners to see if there's anything we can do to better provide service around the school bell times. And the 2 routes that serve the interim site are Route 36, which is already really frequent and has good capacity, so that already will have good capacity, so we didn't need to change schedules there, but we'll be able to put maybe some articulated coaches rather than our standard 40-foot coaches around the bell times, so that should add some additional capacity. But the Route 107, which goes by the interim site, by the existing Mercer site, and also Cleveland High School, that route has had crowding issues around dismissal in particular, and so on that route, it looks like starting in the fall, around when school starts, we'll be able to add an additional trip in the morning, kind of traveling southbound towards the school around to arrive, before the start time, and then add an additional trip in the afternoon after dismissal. So, we're still dealing with staffing shortages, but we will be able to get some extra capacity on that Route 107 to help move students and hopefully deal with the crowding that occurs with overlap between Mercer and Cleveland High School dismissals. So one small thing.
Great.
I think.
Yeah, that's not small. That's big.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sarah, for helping, giving us these things, to give the operators time to, pick what trips they want. A lot of these schedule things happen pretty far in advance of the fall service change. So that's why it's, thanks for bringing this to our attention in time to be able to, evaluate and shift things around. So thank you.
Of course. And Diane was there with me with the Mercer Middle School students. And I'll be excited to share this with the teacher whose class we were in, who's my husband. So we can tell class.
Yeah. Thanks to students. So they're helping make a difference. So yeah, I can follow up and say, basically what the new trip times will be starting in the fall, going by the Van Assault, how you pronounce that site. So yeah.
This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was all I wanted to share. So thanks all.
Yeah, and those both the 36 and the 107 lead to Beacon Hill Light Rail. I ride it a lot of mornings to get my kids to El Centro de la Raza, so that's more students, and we're always riding with students that are going to Franklin High School. They're taking it to the light rail to get to Franklin.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's really great intersections. Thank you.
Yeah.
Since we have a moment, I just want to put in that we really need to write our annual report for this year. I know nobody wants to do it. I don't want to do it. Do we have I don't remember, did we already establish a subcommittee in charge of that?
Yeah, that was actually on the agenda for next month.
The subcommittee or
To do it now. No, the assignment.
What?
Assigning the committee. But we could do it now and take something else on the agenda left for last month. I can help. I can't lead it. Don't have a year of history.
Margaret does such a wonderful job. That's why you got to be
Margaret is
secretary.
doing a great job.
I haven't been taking as many pictures of my kids this year because they've been getting themselves to school. Maybe Sarah can send me some.
I have lots of pictures for you this year.
Perfect. Because it's not, I'd just like to clarify, I don't actually want it to be only my children, those are just the ones that I have. So it'd be great to have someone else's children. Fine.
I know we're using the annual report for your kid's future modeling career. Now you're playing the long game here. So it sounds like you're willing.
I like the idea of having a subcommittee and other people though.
Yeah. Okay.
I would support, as I have in the past. I'd be happy to contribute, but excited for you to lead it.
Can Sarah be on it can we assign Sarah's position to it? I guess.
No, but I can write my section.
Yep.
If that's how you want to do it again.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. I'd love lots and lots and all the photos you can send me and your section. Very great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So it's Margaret, Mary Ellen, and me with Sarah doing her section. So one last thing to do next month. And we have 4 minutes to the meeting. I think we can adjourn.
What about Lee's replacement? You were going to talk about that.
Yes, committee recruitment. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Yes, I think we need. Yes.
Just on that note, so the city already sort of has a process in place for that. So there's 2 spots opening up. We have Robin's position and Lee's position. So they haven't made it an open recruitment yet, but we definitely can. I just wanted to provide the background.
Okay.
So Aileen is already helping, trying to recruit from applicants from other modal boards right now.
Oh, great. Great.
Diane, when are those positions opening?
Now, I think April was the end of the term, I believe. So this was the last official meeting for Lee and Robin. But they have both generously volunteered their time to stay on until we get them filled.
I was just going to say thank you to you both.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
When you came on, Richard Stout was nervous about having you because you'd been such a successful pain about our Eagle Staff Middle School. So we really appreciated you bringing that energy to the committee.
Yeah, you've been an absolutely wonderful member.
And Robin, we're really going to miss that South End perspective.
Yeah, Robin, recruiting in the South End would be really helpful if you could recruit somebody down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I can work on that.
I can try to do some recruitment through greenways and other things like that too.
That would be really good too.
It sounds like Elaine is already on top of people that are currently involved in other
But
committees.
more is better,
Yes.
especially for this committee. I think we don't.
Oh,
get
yeah,
as many-
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we don't need to ask her
Yes.
to do that.
No.
Great.
We're good.
We put it up on telephone post.
And Sarah, in the minute and a half that you have in the position, if you could think of parents that are involved and might want to step out to this role.
Yeah, I'll think on that.
The most awkward part of the remote meetings. I think we're done, right? Are we
I think we can adjourn. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you in May.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Greatly managed.
Bye.
Bye.
12% on my battery.